Hello, I'm Erin Merrihew. I'm a communication and empowerment coach, and today I'm talking about codependency. This is one of the most popular topics in every single one of my courses, and it's something that comes up in just about every coaching context I'm in. People are so curious about codependency. Now, I want to start by talking about what codependency is. So there are many different ways of defining codependency, and maybe you've heard about this in a therapeutic context, maybe you've just heard it as kind of a buzzword or someone has mentioned it to you. The way that I talk about codependency is the act of seeking to ground ourselves in another person. So looking to find our center, our sense of self in another person. Codependency is a learned behavior that operates mostly in our unconscious. So as we're growing up in the world, when we're really young, we are taking cues from our caregivers. We are leaning on them to help us find a sense of balance, to come back to center when we are dysregulated, and to really get a sense of who we are. This is natural and healthy and normal for a child to engage in this behavior because this is how we cultivate our identity and it's how we cultivate our sense of safety in the world. Now, where this becomes challenging is when we don't have positive experiences with our caregivers. And none of us come through our childhood unscathed. All of us have whether it's more mild experiences of not feeling seen, heard, attuned with, validated for our experience, all the way to extreme experiences of trauma. So all of us go through this on some level. We all develop codependency, and sometimes it's, like I said, more mild experiences of that. Other times it's really extreme, where our literal safety and survival depended upon us stifling and abandoning our own emotional experience to prioritize the experience of our caregiver and try to de-escalate them and help them find a sense of balance. So when we're talking about codependency, the first thing that I really want to encourage you to do is to remove any sense of stigma or self-judgment that you might be holding when you notice yourself fall into a codependent pattern. And this is something that I often am really coaching people around, is this practice of self-forgiveness when we find ourselves in a codependent place. All of us go to this place, and we usually go to this place when we are scared. Our nervous system gets dysregulated, something comes up for somebody else, something comes up for us that we don't know how to handle, and we look outward for a sense of security. This is a learned, internalized, deeply unconscious pattern that all of us carry on some level. And so there's no need to feel any sense of shame about having some codependent tendencies come up. Now, it's completely valid to feel frustrated by this. This is what my clients and students often tell me. It's just so frustrating. I know this is unhealthy for me. I know this is toxic in my relationships. So how do I stop doing this? So the first step is always going to be, first, you forgive yourself for having that reaction. You forgive yourself for falling into the pattern. If you're being hard on yourself about being in a codependent place, or, oh, my codependency is so bad, you're going to remain stuck in that pattern a lot longer. So if you can give yourself just a little bit of grace, a little bit of space to go, you know what, I'm human. Everybody falls into this trap from time to time. It's part of our wiring. It's part of our nature. We are relational beings. We're looking to other people for cues all the time. Okay, I forgive myself. Now, the other thing to understand is that codependency at its very core is self-abandonment. It is the act of leaving ourselves, looking outward to find our ground and find our center. So when it comes to healing codependency, we are going to really focus on coming back to ourselves. And this is actually kind of a painful process. I really want to set your expectations accurately here, that it might sound really nice, to come back to myself. The end result, when we have worked through the emotional material, is beautiful and it feels deeply grounding. The process of actually cutting those ties and really releasing our sense of loyalty to other people's perceptions of us or other people's emotional states can feel quite disorienting, quite painful. So don't be alarmed if, as you are working through this and you're processing and kind of untethering from some of your codependent tendencies, that you feel really scared, you feel worried, you feel anxious. All of those feelings are completely natural and normal when you're going through a process of healing codependency. So coming back to ourselves looks like literally just saying, what's going on for me right now? And often when I ask people this question, their answer bounces back to the other person's experience again. So I'll say, what's going on for you right now? Tune in with yourself, tune in with your body, tune in with your breath, your heart, your emotions. And they'll say, I just feel like that person is so mad at me, or I just feel like they're being unfair. And so our mind naturally, it's programmed, again, this codependent tendency is a survival mechanism that's programmed to say, what's going on for the other person? What's happening out there? So be patient with yourself as you learn this process of really tuning in and checking in with yourself and just asking this really simple but not always easy question. What is going on with me? I mentioned starting with the body and the breath. It can be really helpful to just place a hand on the heart, maybe even close your eyes. Sometimes that really helps me when I'm really out there focused on other people, to go inward and just ask your body, what's going on right now? When we track sensation in the body, we can start to link it to feelings that we're having. Maybe I'm feeling nervous, maybe I'm feeling alone, maybe I'm feeling afraid, maybe I'm feeling resentful or angry. When you start to actually label your own inner experience, it creates a sense of spaciousness for you to actually just dwell in your own experience, rather than constantly being pulled and tugged to go back to the other person's experience and look for safety there. So the first step is forgiving ourselves for falling into our codependent tendencies. The second step is to counteract that self-abandonment by coming back immediately to our own experience. What is going on? The third step is just going to be comforting the scared parts of us. Now, usually when we come back to ourselves, we find some version of fear. When we're in a codependent pattern, it's because we are afraid on some level. Some disruption has taken place. Maybe there's a ruptured connection. Maybe there's somebody in a dysregulated emotional state, and we get scared in that place. And usually it's a younger part of us. It's kind of that inner child that's just going, I don't know how to feel stable and secure when this person is feeling X, Y, Z type of way. So you get to actually provide yourself that security, that emotional attunement that maybe you didn't have when you were young, and maybe you didn't have from the person in front of you who was getting upset in this very moment, right? So you're tuning in with yourself, you're noticing how you're feeling, and then you're just providing some basic reassurance to the scared parts of you. One of my favorite phrases for this is just, I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere. So you can imagine in your mind's eye that you're speaking to that scared inner child within you and just offering some really grounding reassurance. I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere. One of the most primal fears of that inner child is, will I be left alone? Am I in the presence of a safe, loving figure? And often that wasn't the case for us when we were young, so we can actually really offer that to ourselves now by just offering that reassurance. I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere. Some of the other phrases that I love, it's okay to feel how you're feeling. I won't leave you. I'm here, I'm listening. It's okay to feel how you feel. Even as I'm just saying this, I can feel my body relax, and I think that's what you'll find as you tune in with this practice and you offer that reassurance. So it can be helpful to think ahead of time of some phrases that are likely to be reassuring to the scared parts of you, because when you're in the throes of those feelings and you are detaching from the codependent pattern, it can be, again, like I said, quite activating, quite disorienting. And so you'll want some phrases in your back pocket that you can just pull out and kind of apply as needed in those moments. So I've suggested some here. You might think of some more that are sort of tailored to your own experience. What would support you? What would support the scared inner child part of you who developed the codependent tendencies to begin with, right? Who didn't maybe have the degree of safety and attunement that they needed. All right, so those are the internal steps. Now the final step, the fourth step, is to claim an energetic boundary. Now, these first 3 steps have already gotten you well on your way to doing that. And you may find that even just by asking yourself, what's going on with me, that you have claimed that energetic boundary that says, this is where I end and you begin. And there is a line there. And I am responsible for where I am and how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. But if the energetic boundary hasn't been firmly set, it's a really great thing to just step in and make sure that you are indeed really cultivating that container for yourself. Most of us, when we are in a codependent pattern, do not perceive a boundary between ourselves and another. That boundary is gone. It's almost like we lose our sense of self, and the only thing that exists is the other person's experience and is that relationship. So it's incredibly healing to remind yourself that there is an energetic boundary between you and others. And you can do that by using a simple mantra. My feelings are over here with me, your feelings are over there with you. Another version of it could be, my experience is mine, your experience is yours. Now you might even really reinforce that with some even stronger phrases, things like, I am not responsible for your discomfort. I am not responsible for resolving your pain. I am not responsible for your healing. I'm not responsible for bringing you out of agony. So whatever it may be, looking for those phrases that really help you draw that line, that energetic boundary that says, look, I am responsible for my experience. I'm loyal to and connected to my experience first. And once that's the case, you will actually have the resilience and the stamina and the resources to engage, not from that place of codependent patterning, but actually from that place of raw, vulnerable, open connection. And that's really the place that all of us are trying to get back to when we talk about recovering from and overcoming codependency. So thank you for tuning in today. Once again, please forgive yourself. Be really gentle and patient with yourself when you fall into those codependent tendencies. We all have them. We all go there from time to time. It's no big deal. It's just something that needs attention and care. Make sure that you are counteracting that self-abandonment by really coming back to your own experience and tuning in. What is happening for me? Notice the tendency of the mind to interpret what's happening to you through the lens of the other person, and really bring yourself back again and again, grounding in the body, grounding in your feelings. What's going on for me? From there, applying extra care and reassurance to whatever parts of you, those scared parts of you, that inner child, whatever they need to really feel embraced and held, and kind of using your intuition, finding language that connects with that part of you so that you can start to really ground yourself and come back into your own experience. And then finally, in whatever way feels right to you, setting the energetic container, setting the energetic boundary that says, my experience is mine, your experience is yours, and I am only responsible for caring for my experience in this moment. I hope this is useful to you. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.